Hello, welcome back to my channel. So tonight I want to discuss Dan Bilzerian getting into politics and the different layers to all of this. So first of all, Dan is running in Florida against Randy Fine, someone who seems to be supported in his area. Dan does have an uphill battle, and it will be hard for him to win, but you can tell that Randy Fine does feel a pressure from Dan Bilzerian getting into politics and trying to dethrone him. What is Dan Bilzerian running on fully exactly? There's some speculation, but the easiest thing to say is it's not about the economy. He's more set on foreign policy stuff. And Randy Fine says he doesn't want to send money to foreign nations. And Dan Bilzerian also doesn't want to send money to foreign nations. So the fact that they're both talking about elephants in the room makes it more interesting. Now, there's two ways of looking at it. You can look at it that this is organic, that Dan Bilzerian wants to get into a democratic country's process and become a politician. Sure, that's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it would be that he's being funded, or there's something more weird about him getting into politics. Now, I'm not saying that's what it is, but if he was funded, if he was playing ball, then people would be supporting him. And right now, besides Twitter, I don't think people are very vocal about supporting Dan. So that's one thing. So it seems like it could be real. The other thing is the fact that the right wing, Nick Fuentes, attacking Dan makes it seem more legitimate. Makes it seem like, just a week ago y'all were good friends, but now all of a sudden they're talking about Ben Shapiro, and Dan is making plans, and Nick Fuentes is calling him out. So that also makes me also look at Nick Fuentes like, why would you not want to stay with your friends? Why would you not back up your friends? There's also things about Nick that when Charlie Kirk thing happened, I think he felt like a different lane open up for him. So I think he's trying to go more mainstream. Maybe he's tired of being held back. And he's also making fun of Dan, especially when he's getting into politics, when allegedly he would be spending a lot of money and need a lot of support. It's kind of a good time to throw your friend under the bus. Let's talk about him in politics in general. I think that Dan Bilzerian does pose a problem to the higher powers in politics, in the sense that this sort of stuff is being acceptable for debate. I think the stuff he's talking about makes people very uncomfortable, and I think that a lot of politicians have donors that pay the bills for the politicians. That's just what it is. And I think that they also could lose funding, and I think they don't want to also be a part of whatever it is he's talking about. But I think that a lot of it has to do with, if you look in line with Tucker Carlson, And Tucker Carlson's talking about a lot of different things. And Tucker Carlson's really wants to detether from other countries around the world and wants to, bring the troops back home. And I think he also is talking about elephants in the room. And I think that people are having more conversations about more elephants in the room. And that's why you have Dan Bilzerian running against a candidate who says he doesn't want to send foreign money away anymore, which kind of defeats the purpose of Dan running in the first place. But Dan Bilzerian and his sort of line is like, hey, if you want to get into politics, you can't be a dual citizen. Randy Fine says he's not a dual citizen, but Dan Bilzerian is a dual citizen to Armenia. So, that just adds another layer to things. It adds more context. It's just like, damn, okay. So we're back to the foreign element again. But the fact that a lot of people have turned on Dan makes me feel like I think he thinks he's doing the right thing and that he's doing something actually. Will he just be made an example of poor results? Will he be a laughing stock? Is that what is going to happen? Will he be pigeonholed? Will he even be taken seriously? Especially when you look at some of the stuff that Fishback guy says. I think you have to look at all the demographics of Florida. So, politics is very greasy. Maybe they want to get people to get back into voting. Maybe they want to really win in the Democrats in the next election. So they're really trying to make the right wing look very loony and make the liberals and the Democrats more palatable. I think we've, touched the surface on a lot of different angles with Dan Bilzerian and his run in politics. Please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.